And so many great stories.
If it was an ape, I feel like we would have that by now. A couple times where it would come to the window, my daughter's window, and try to talk to her. And I can see the face. I can see all of it.
I mean, is it like Scared Straight?
There's also a paranormal side to it, right?
Beautiful day. Beautiful lake.
It is a beautiful lake. Right here in Port Townsend, just outside of, on the border of Highway 101. A lesser known lake, Gibbs Lake out here. A couple of geese or ducks here on the other side, but for the most part we have it all to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is take 2 for us here because we're shooting with a new camera, and we have an interview for you coming up here with fellow researcher witness from Washington State, but a Texas boy at heart, Matt Parrish. And tell him what happened with the camera.
Well, we were camping at this beautiful campground and testing this camera out for the first time, and struggled to get our focus right. So one of us was blurry while the other one was in focus, and we're like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, in fact, let's make sure this one's in focus here. It's just a little bit of a learning curve here with a piece of new tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're trying it now. We'll get it down, and for the most part, this video is all in focus. It looks great at night. That's part of the issue.
Yeah.
With the GoPros, that GoPros struggle with night footage, and this camera here seems to excel at it.
Yeah, it does great in low light, and it's a built-in gimbal, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me flip it around. Tell people a little bit about Matt Parrish.
Well, I met him for the first time in Yakima last year, but he was recently interviewed by Flash of Beauty, and so we wanted to do like a little follow-up because he lives just outside of Joyce, which is not too far from us, and we know that that's like a super hotspot area as far as sightings, and he's experienced like habituation stuff down in Quinault as well, where he used to live, which is where we just shot an episode at the Quinault Lake. So, and he was the witness of the lake monster, which like got us to go down there. So we're gonna ask him about his sighting because we weren't able to get that on camera the first time we shot that episode, and talk to him about his experiences, and then go on a night hike, little campfire stories.
So Matt Parrish is a habituator, not by design, but just by fate. And so habituators we've covered briefly, I think, in most of our Strange Days episodes. We talked to abductees, we've talked to people that deal with ghosts. But what if you have a place, a home, a domicile, an acreage, a parcel that is constantly being inundated with Sasquatch? And that's where Matt Parrish's story really takes off, on this lake where him and his family all kind of have to agree that something's different from these constant visitors that show up. And there's some overlap as we talk. I was kind of shocked at some of the things that Matt thought about the issue because, he comes from a legal law background, and we'll talk more about that. So he is a by-the-book kind of guy just by nature. But this phenomena, and you would probably have something to say about this too, Allie, is that this is an open-ended phenomena, and there's really no end chapter to it. It just keeps going and going with, theory and theory and theory. So that's where, I hear an osprey. That means that they're, or an eagle, yeah. That is an eagle, is that not an osprey?
Is that it right there?
That's probably it, maybe a bald eagle.
It is the day after Valentine's Day. Tickets went on sale for OSD yesterday for the public, and there's still tickets to snag up. So get on olympicstrangedays.com and check that out. Wow. We also have, speaking of logos, we have a revamped logo, and once we did that, we also decided to mess with a little bit of our store stuff, and we've revamped our merch. So be sure to check that out. There's hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, phone cases, journals, all the awesome stuff. We'll have to plug some of those in. So check
Everything
it out.
under the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming up with an OSD thong too, so stay tuned for that. Enjoy this interview as we enter into right off Highway 112, Joyce, Washington, with Matt Parrish. Just kind of introduce yourself to the crowd here. So you're a corrections officer?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell people what that's like. That's a story in itself. I mean, is it like Scared Straight? Do you get those kind of?
No, it's not like that at all. That's all for TV.
Oh, shoot.
Most part, people are just trying to do their time and go home. And so
Right.
I go in there and I just treat them the way I'd want to be treated in their shoes. Try to be respectful. And
How long you been doing that?
since 2009,
Okay.
I actually was down in Texas and I made it all the way up to lieutenant. And we've been coming up here to the Olympic Peninsula for years for vacation. And we had the opportunity in 2021. And so we took it and I lived there. We moved in to Quinault is where we kind of
Just
landed.
right off of the lake where we were at?
Right
Okay.
off the water. Yep.
All right. And so where I hear an accent. Where's the I hear a little bit of an accent.
It's near the East Texas,
Is it
Louisiana
Texas?
border. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
My
good.
my
You know
dad-
how to barbecue too? Are you a barbecue guy?
Oh yeah, I love
Oh,
barbecue.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
barbecue, grill,
All right.
all that. Tex-Mex. We eat a lot
Yeah.
of Tex-Mex, a lot of Cajun food.
Yeah.
Being close to the Louisiana border,
Okay.
but yeah, we landed in Quinault. Wasn't really looking for Bigfoot or anything at the time. You know, I'd heard the stories. I grew up. I was interested in it. I always thought there had to be something to it. And then we started having the activity occur on our property.
Yeah.
And that's when we ended up setting out a Ring camera and captured what looks like a Sasquatch coming around the corner of the house on the Ring video.
And totally unfamiliar with it to that point? I mean, to the degree where you have been nothing in Texas prior to that.
Yeah, nothing
Okay.
going on in Texas. I never found any footprints, never heard any vocals or anything like that in Texas. You know, I heard lots of stories in Texas, but you know, I would go out hiking a lot, but I never saw anything. And so, yeah, the Olympics was the first time that we'd experienced anything. It was actually on vacation when we actually experienced, we heard some vocals on Lake Crescent. And so that's why we kept coming back. I was like, you know, I kind of want to know more. And it's just, I mean, it's a beautiful area. You know, it's just someplace we always wanted to live. So we made the leap. And
How long did you live with the phenomena out on Quinault?
about 4.5 years.
So you really got to know how this works.
Yeah. We got to learn them pretty well. So,
Baptism through fire.
yeah.
Who did you lean on as far as getting answers about how to deal with it that was local to you? Who'd you go to first?
Well, I actually established a pretty good relationship. We lived on tribal land.
Yeah.
And so I started talking to some of the elders.
You got to know people like Harvest Moon?
The Harvest Moon. Yep.
Okay.
I talked to her, and she kind of, once I established a good relationship with her, and the rest of the tribe kind of saw that, they kind of really opened up, and some of them would step forward and be like, hey, you know, have you tried this? Or they would hear my story and they just kind of give me pointers. One thing I can say about with the elders is just listen. You know, in the beginning, I couldn't really ask questions. I couldn't really like interject my opinion, because if you do, they just kind of clam up, and that's over. They're not going to talk anymore. Approach them with respect. Be receptive to whatever they have to say. You know, the natives, they believe that they're the other tribe. They either believe that they're the other tribe, or in that community, they believe they're spirits.
Right.
So it seems to be pretty divided, one of the two. So just be receptive to that. And I would just listen to them and hear what they would have to say. And there were things that kind of...
What were they saying?
Well, you know, like we'd have these tree breaks along our property, And one of the natives, he come up to me and asked me, he said, do you have tree breaks on your property? I said, yeah. He said, go back home and see if they're about every 100 yards apart or so. And I said, 100 yards? So I go back and I'm looking, and I'm like, yeah, I started finding more. And he told me that the tree breaks, just the little ones, the little limbs, where they're twisted and over and down, he said it's just kind of a marker, like they've been there for the others. Some of the other things they taught me, like if you kind of look around, you might find other tracks. And we did. We would look around and we would find like 2 other sets of tracks. But it would be when they moved through an area, at least in Quinault, around our property, what we experienced, it'd be like there'd be a set of tracks here, and then, about maybe, 50 feet, 60 feet over that way, you might find another set of tracks.
Right.
So they kind of spread out. They're not like when we walk, we're side by side. They kind of space themselves out. Things like that. They told me about gifting, which...
Did you experience any of that?
We did. So the gifting thing, it took me about 2 years into it before I made up my mind. I get hammered by so many people about gifting, but they're like, that's dangerous. Why would you do that with your girls? And I guess I never really explained that, that we waited 2 years before we did anything. If they wanted to do harm, they definitely could have, but they never did. So
what did it start with?
I started with apples, and I didn't really see...
So you initiated it?
Yep.
Did they leave you something before the 2-year mark and you didn't respond? Like, did you find weirdness?
So the only thing that was ever left on the property in the beginning was a rock. There's the famous incident I talk about with my dad when they came to visit, and something came up and banged on the window unit, and that's when we all finally realized that first, we're dealing with the Sasquatch. We found the tracks, and that was all in Flash of Beauty. They did a really good job at keeping that story true. But yeah, we go outside, we find the rock. It's sitting on top of the window unit. And the funny thing is, I would take the rock, but another rock would show up. I would take that rock off, and a rock would be placed back onto the window unit. It may not happen, for 2 or 3 days, maybe 3 weeks, but you'll walk around there eventually, and there's a rock sitting. For whatever reason, they always put just a smooth, almost a river stone type rock, always about the $50 size.
So not a piece of gravel, not something that's from around the general area, something that it was brought to you.
Yeah, it came down from the water, from the river.
From the river.
Yep. Yeah, I picked this up everywhere, but this is almost the exact size.
Oh, really? Oh, let's show this. So what were you saying, Matt?
I just found this on the ground there everywhere, but this is almost identical to the rock that we would find placed on the window unit.
Shape and size and everything?
Shape and size.
Wow.
Now, when I was gifting, so I try to gift on a regular basis. And when I would gift, I would try different things. I tried putting, like, somebody said put out McDonald's toys. I did that. They never took them.
McDonald's, huh?
Yeah, like a little, just a little plastic.
Yeah. Everyone loves McGrimace.
Yeah. So I put those out. Nothing. The only thing they ever took was Harvest Moon and me. We did an event at a library, and at the end she made these corn husk dolls, and she made a bunch of them, and she just gave them to me to give to my girls. So I set one of those corn husk dolls out, and they took that.
They did?
Yeah. So they took that, but they wouldn't take the other stuff.
And has it been gone ever since? It never showed back up?
Never came back. So and the funny thing was, I actually, where my gifting table was like an old nightstand that I just dug out of the dump, and so it had a drawer on it. So I actually set the doll down in the drawer and shut the drawer. And when I left it a little bit cracked, but when I came back out the next day, the drawer was open and the doll was gone. So it wasn't like it just got blown off or maybe a bird picked it up.
Wow.
But they would always, and I saw something interesting, I think you guys posted it about apples. I would always put out 10 plums, and 4 would always be left behind. I don't know why.
What you're describing almost sounds more like human behavior.
It is, yeah.
What do you think of that statement?
So, yeah, in the beginning, even back before I, was a knower, because I'm a knower, not a believer anymore. I always thought they were primates, you know, like just because you see that thing Patty, you know, and it looks like a gorilla on two legs. After seeing what we saw in Quinault and experiencing what we experienced, they behave more like primitive humans than they do apes. And it makes a lot of sense, because if it was an ape, I feel like we would have that by now. That would be done in the bag. But they're not apes, I don't think. You know, there's something like a paranthropus, or, you know, I think Meldrum was onto something when he called them relicominoids. And so that's what I believe we're dealing with.
That is
by the way, this is an eagle sanctuary too. So here you are again, back in Bigfoot habitat. I mean, all the Olympics, right, is pretty rich, but Joyce in particular being, 7 minutes, 10-minute drive from the epicenter?
Yeah, so we're pretty much at ground zero again with the lower Elwha is exactly where we live on tribal land again. We ended up having to move for work. I got back into corrections, and so it was just too far to drive from Quinault to where I live now. And even now it's a 45-minute drive, but it's a lot closer than 2.5 hours. So my wife found this, just a description, and it didn't even have a location. And it said 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, near Port Angeles. And so my wife reached out to the lady, and she told her, hey, we're looking for a house. And the lady reached back to us, and I guess they did their homework. You know, they did some Facebook stalking or something. And
on you?
Yeah, on me. Yeah. And she said, your husband's into Bigfoot. She's like, he's gonna love this house. And
Wow.
my wife said, what do you mean he's gonna love your house? And she's like, well, we have the same thing that y'all have going on at this property. And she said that they were on Finding Bigfoot. It's
really?
Sam and Jennifer White. Yeah. And he's the chief of police for the Elwha, and they had a Class A sighting a couple times there at the house. And so, and since then we've experienced some activity, but it's like my wife said, she said, I don't understand why it's not as intense as it was in Quinault. And I told her, I said, remember when we first moved to Quinault, it wasn't that intense. This was a 4-year relationship that we built up to, with these things. It wasn't until that last year when they actually felt comfortable coming, exposing themselves while we were outside. Up until that last year, they would never come up to the house if we were outside, or at least they, wouldn't make their presence known if we were outside. So
It makes total sense that they'd have to warm up to you. And
yeah, they're gonna have to watch us, study us. That first year in Quinault, it was just smells. We would smell, we would maybe hear something run past the house. It wasn't until the following year when things kind of picked up, and we had things tapping on the side of the house or the windows, and things moved around on our property, so, and it just kept building and building from there. So the Quinault people, they believe that they're more like the other tribe. They call them the Siaco. And the differences with the Elwha that I'm finding is that they believe that they're more spiritual. I had one Elwha member actually tell me that if you look into their eyes, they'll steal your soul. They almost kind of demonic.
Have you ever got the sense that you're talking about something that is dark, nefarious, approaching your family like a demon?
No. I can't say that I try to approach it from a logical standpoint, and I've had we have had so many opportunities with them that if they wanted to do some serious harm, they could have. Now, I will say that, are the encounters scary? Yes. There was one time we were in our new place, right shortly after we moved in. Me, my wife, we still didn't even have all our furniture yet because we were buying new furniture, so we just ran up and got some burgers from the Caboose, little burger joint there on the corner. Go back to the house, and we're sitting on the deck out back, and there's a hillside right off to our left, and then our property kind of levels out, and then it slides back down into drainage, a little creek. So we're sitting there and we're eating these burgers, and my wife, she's got her back to the drainage, and all of a sudden we hear like a clicking sound, almost like the way you would pop your tongue, coming from behind her. And she would turn and look, and we wouldn't see anything. And she goes, is that, because we experienced something similar in Quinault. And I was like, just ignore it. If it's them, let's You know, because I've learned that if you go looking for these things, you know, especially when they're around or close, you'll just stop all activity. It's like they know. So we're ignoring it, right? And we're sitting there. So now we start hearing it on the hill clicking, and then it's like they're going back and forth, like popping their tongues. And then my wife, she's looking, and she turns around and she looks back at me, and something, it sounded very much like the Sierra sounds, like chatter, but it was really low, kind of almost like whispering, like, but to me it sounded like excited, you know, like, hey, look back over here, you know. That's not what it was saying, but that's the tone and that's the vibe that I felt. And she would turn and she would look, and the minute it would go dead silent, and I was like, just turn around and look back at me, you know, and she'd turn back around and look at me, and it would start up again, and she would turn, it would get silent, and that went on for about 5 minutes. Yeah, when my wife told me, she's like, everything she told me about the property that we were at now, you know, and told us what the lady had to say, I told her, I said, I'm sold. It has a dishwasher and Sasquatches. Let's move. I do miss the interactions that I had in Quinault, you know. But I think we're slowly building and working our
So
way
is your
up
family receptive to this happening again?
Oh yeah, they are.
They're okay with it?
Yeah, my wife, my daughter, they're okay with it, you know. And we've established ground rules, you know, like we did in Quinault. My girls don't interact with them at all. If we had a couple times where it would come to the window, my daughter's window, and try to talk to her, or, you know, speak to her, and she knows, you know, we keep the windows closed at nighttime. Once the sun goes down, the shutters go down and the blinds too, you know, the curtains. And so, you know, they don't go into the forest, they don't go playing in the forest or near the tree line.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to play outside, one of us has to be out there. So, you know, I've heard up here they call it the whispering woman, because she likes to come and whisper to the children and try to lure them out. And I mean, I don't know. You just don't know, right? And that's the thing. So you set up some boundaries and early on, and some guidelines to kind of go by. Yeah, we got this.
Wait, let me get this on camera. Okay, what big adventure. You got this. Oh, look at that. So you were saying something too about, and we don't have to give this person's name up, but you had a television crew out to your place, a reluctant witness that was out staying the night on your property at the lake.
So we had on two separate occasions. Before we filmed.
Let's walk and talk at the same time.
Just before we filmed Expedition Bigfoot, we went out on the backside of Lake Quinault on the Skyline Trail, and there's one part of that trail that comes to you go down in this valley, and on each side you got this big ravine, you know, hillside on each side of you. So you're kind of down like a little choke point area. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, but they said, oh look, there's somebody camping up there. And I've walked this trail thousands of times. There's no trails going up to the top of that ridge. And so I look up there, and there's what looks like a tent, but it's kind of a lime green color. But it's just a light, you know, like what you have a lantern inside of a tent, and you're looking at it from a distance. It's not really putting off any light or around it, but it's just kind of a glow. And so we're watching it, and then it started to move down through the trees, and it moves all the way down, and it gets about 100 yards in front of us, and then it starts going up the other side, and then just over the ridge, and it disappeared. And so I was like, I didn't hear, you know, my first thought was like, this is some type of drone or something, but there was no sound. And the weird thing was, as it was moving down through the trees, there was no ambient light being, you know, it wasn't casting a light, it wasn't lighting anything up around it. It was just lit itself. And
Right.
so that was really bizarre. So there was that incident. And then about a year later, we had two guests come out to our house. They wanted to see the phenomenon. And out of respect for them, I'm not going to put their name out there yet. But so they're spending the night there, and they witnessed, I didn't see it, but they witnessed like a purplish light, kind of like a faint glow, almost kind of like the northern lights a little bit, but it was right outside the window of the house. And then the other person, who was sleeping in a tent in my backyard to see if he could experience some activity, said that he saw like weird lights being casted on the side of the tent. So that was really interesting to me, because we had never personally experienced any kind of lights at the house.
Now, what do you think? Is there any connection between the phenomena?
Definitely, because what the connection is, I don't know. You know, if it's aliens, right, or UFOs or something, you know, they abduct people. You hear stories like that. There's the famous story here in Washington where they were a group of loggers abducting a elk
good.
off
Yeah.
the side of a mountain. And so I think, you know, if there's another hominid on this planet, why wouldn't they be interested too? Maybe that's the connection there.
Yeah.
I know people talk about portals and stuff like that. I'm open to it. You know, I'm not going to ever close the door on anything.
Have you ever heard of the closing door sound or the slamming door? Have you ever heard the car door slam phenomena?
No.
Okay.
I haven't
Well,
heard
I
of
mean,
that.
like a bang, an unusual, we call them energetic, like a big boom or banging
Yeah.
sound in the woods. Sometimes it sounds like metal or
So-
a door.
Like earlier, you know, I know there's been some talk of that here on the peninsula. My wife actually experienced what she said sounded like a transformer exploding. You know, in the South we have hurricanes, tornadoes, so we're very familiar with what a transformer sounds like when it blows. And she said it was pretty loud. It like shook the house, but that was it, and the power never went off. I was at work up in Quallen Bay, so I wasn't there to witness it, but I thought that was kind of interesting, you know. And then I found out later, you know, there's actually something that people are hearing. So I always wonder, is that what she
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
heard at the house?
I'll follow you guys. Little Nature's Bridge.
You know, when I watched my video, that thing comes around the corner of the house and it walks up within about 25 feet and it stops and it looks right at the camera and then it turns around and leaves. It's totally oblivious to whatever it's doing on the side of the house till it looks
Right.
over. And I thought it had to catch a whiff of it, or,
Right.
you know.
So are you saying that they're most likely like smelling it before they see like a infrared output or?
Well, I think it's a multi-factor thing, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, infrared light, they might be able to see it, but a lot of the game cameras that come out now do not use infrared light to trigger. They use a heat signature, and then the IR light pops. So if you're just walking through the woods with the newer cameras, you're not going to see that IR light. So that's, but I think it's smell and, like, you know, we leave a trail. So if they come into an area where we're at and they maybe smell like technology, maybe, you know, it sets them off. Or maybe they're sensitive to the electronic, you know,
Right.
if they are coming through portals and stuff like that, they, you know, whatever they're doing,
Yeah.
you know, on the paranormal side of things, you know, because there is a paranormal side to this phenomena, definitely. That's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. You know, I think even the people who witness, I think the people who are truly out there, boots on the ground, that don't want to talk about it because it's very taboo, right? You know, to talk about the paranormal side of this thing. But there is something happening with it that we can't explain right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely beyond our understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how does that make you feel as far as like something that's dealing with this phenomena? Like, do you feel like, have you ever, so sometimes people have prolonged experiences with Bigfoot because they've had childhood experiences with things like missing time or strange lights, or their mother or father have UFO stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories like that?
So growing up in East Texas, that we have a road called Bragg Road or Ghost Road, right down the road. You've heard of it? The Saratoga Lights.
Really? This is a thing. Okay.
I grew up there. And so we would go out and we would see the Saratoga Lights. It's a 7-mile stretch of dirt road through the Big Thicket out in East Texas. And there's no cars. There's no, there's 2 highways on each side of it, but it's 7 miles. And when we call it the Big Thicket, it's the Big Thicket for a reason. It's just scrub brush and pine, ponderosa pine. You can't see 10 feet into that thing. And so you go on this road and there's a light that comes out. It'll appear. It's like an orb. It doesn't cast a light on anything around it, but it will go back and forth on the road and work its way up to you. I've seen it appear up in the trees right above a vehicle. But it seems to, what makes this orb different than a lot of others is it seems to interact with you, right? Mm-hmm. So just before you get to it, it'll like kind of flicker out and die, and then it'll poof, reappear right behind you, like almost playing with you. I've seen it a dozen times. I've been out there thousands of times, but I've only seen it like a dozen times in my life. When you're sitting there, the road actually has this, just before the light appears, you start feeling this sensation. And if you look at the road, it actually feels like you're moving backward, kind of like in a movie where they're walking down a hallway and the hallway keeps stretching.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you experience on the road. It's really weird.
Yeah. Like zooming in and pulling out at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, you know, because like you're sitting there, right? And you just feel like you're going backwards. You're like, well, like, I'm not tripping on drugs or anything. I didn't drink, you know, what the hell's going on? And you look over and you're like, oh, I'm still sitting beside this tree, you know, but you get that feeling. And so, yeah, I grew up with that in my backyard. I'm very open-minded. I'm not a very closed-minded person. And now when I approach this thing, I do it for research purposes, but like when I go out, I'm just going out to have an experience. Yeah. I'm not, you know, going out there like, hey, I want to study you. I like the other day I told my buddy, you know, we just kind of sat down and had a moment in the woods, no cameras, no nothing. And when we did that, we could hear something approaching us. We never could see it. Yeah. But all the birds, the whole forest just went dead silent. And then something came, you know, and so I'm intrigued. I just go out here to see if I can establish some type of relationship, to learn and grow. And that's the way I approach it.
Now, having a job like you do, though, working for the state as a correction officer, you're not worried about there being fallout that you're the Bigfoot guy?
No, not really. I mean, I'm, you know, I know something's out there, right? My wife and me had this talk before I came out and started sharing my experiences and what was going on our property. And my dad said, the best thing that I've probably ever heard, he said, when you know the truth, son, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what other people think.
Yeah.
And so that's...
But this is how you're getting your paycheck. So you're not worried about them saying, you know, maybe not so much TV time with the Bigfoot stuff since you work, as that's never come up?
That's never happened. If anything, I've gotten a positive response from them. Surprisingly, you know, I get jokes every now and then. They're like, you know, oh, this is Parish. It's the Bigfoot guy. You know,
have any of the inmates found out?
I think a couple of them know. But
is it okay to ask? I mean, I'm curious if the inmates found out, like saw you on a show. I
don't know. I think maybe because sometimes I get these weird looks, or sometimes one will say something, but for the most part we keep
bearings.
Yeah, we keep keep it business. You know, like so I don't They don't really ask me about my private life.
But surely you get close to these guys. Like, it'd be hard not to like have a camaraderie.
We talk about things, like sports.
Yeah.
We talk about, sometimes we talk about hiking and fishing and things like that. But
it's the same way in mental health. You don't want to talk about if you have kids or not, or
like
where you live.
Like they know I have children. They know I have a wife.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're boys, girls.
Yeah.
They don't know any of that type of stuff. I don't think they have access to YouTube on their tablets.
They have tablets. I love it.
Yeah, they have tablets.
It's amazing.
I don't think they have access to that stuff. But
okay. But it is possible that they could catch an episode of
or
Expedition Bigfoot
or they. I think some of them know just because like coworkers talk.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, I saw Parish, the other day in Edgecombe out there doing their thing, and so I've had some of them say some stuff, but we don't really, they don't really go into it.
Okay, this is the investigative side of the show. What'd you find?
Looks like a collection of leaners.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're too short to be like someone being like, oh, I gathered walking sticks for hikers. It's
everything
short.
here has moss on it.
Yeah.
So they didn't just come directly out of the tree and drop like that.
Mm-hmm. They're all broken.
They're not even good walking sticks. So you even look, they're almost rotten.
Yeah.
I can almost, yeah.
Weird.
The first time that they decided to expose themselves, or show themselves outside of the, when I'm outside, I was
Quinault?
going out there in Quinault, I was going out there and I was doing my gifting and, when I first got out there was like a tree that fell over in the corner of the property. So I go over there, I'm looking, I don't see anything. It's dead still, kind of like it is right now, no wind. So I start pulling my stuff out. I'm showing them in my headlamp. I'm like, look, I got you guys this. I got you guys that, and I'm just talking, to kind of show my demeanor. I go back and I'm standing there and I'm putting I got my back to the forest and I'm putting all my goodies out on the table for them. And I can hear coming up behind me. And I turn around and my headlamp hits these eyes about 40 feet away from me. And I was like, how are you? What do you say to that? So it's real awkward. And then I was like, under my breath, I was like, oh, bleep, bleep, bleep. Yeah. And you can hear all that on the video too.
Where are you? Come on. A little closer.
And so anyways, we have this interaction. This is going on. And I end up, after about 5 minutes, it's not backing down. And I realize I'm holding in my hand a spoonful of bacon grease that we've been saving. And I was like, oh, this is not a good place I want to be right now. So I put the food down and I'm like, okay. So I go to leave and I got probably about from here to where that stump is. And that's like the corner of my house. And I'm turning to go around to go back inside. And as I do that, I look over my shoulder one last time, and there's a tree a lot like this, but it was a Doug fir. And this thing is it's right on the edge, and it's looking at me. I can see it. I can see the shoulder. I can see the hand. My headlamp hits it, and I can see the face. I can see all of it real good. And as soon as my headlamp hits it, it ducks back behind the tree. Wow. And so then I just book it. Because I never heard it walk up that close. I mean, last I knew we were about 40, 50 feet apart. Next day I go in there, I find the tracks, I find a tree, a sapling that's just split right down the middle where this thing had been standing. But what was interesting was while this whole interaction was going on, that 5 minutes where I'm looking at it and it's looking at me, off to my left, something is just going nuts. It's just ripping up brush. I can hear brush snapping. And that's why in the video, it looks to its right, it'd be my left. And then it looks back at me. It's looking over there. So the second one was trying desperately to get my attention or get its attention. I go in there and I find all the brush that's ripped up. But what was really neat was just a little bit beyond that, there was 2 saplings that were ripped up out of the ground. And one is laying north and the other one is laying perfectly south. And I was like, that was like, what's the point of that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those mysteries,
Interesting.
And that's what that kind of reminded me of back
But
there.
you're one of the, now would you call it eye shine or eye glow? I missed what you said.
This was definitely eye shine.
Okay.
It was from the headlamp because when the light would hit it,
Yeah.
it was dark red, and
Yeah.
then as it would turn, it would go to a kind of an amberish color.
Yeah.
And then when it would hit on the side, it would be yellow, and then when it would snap back, it'd be back to red.
And how big were the eyes and how far apart?
It was in the video they looked small, but from where I was at, it was about 40 feet, and there's probably a good 6-inch gap between the eyes from where I was at. If I had to
Dang.
roughly guess, I mean, and all this happened, and there was so much.
Sure.
But when we went in, we figured out that the height was about 7.5 feet tall. So you got the tree line right there, and it looks like the bushes. But what you can't see in the video is on the backside of that, it drops about 6 feet into the little
Draw.
area. Yeah. And it's all cleared out in there. There's not trees. So it's not like there could have been something in a tree or something looking back at me. There's a little bitty sapling right there and it's split down the middle, and we found a 15-inch track.
We're headed back to our car. We just went down the logging road here. We're almost to our car. We're hungry. We're gonna go back to our campsite. Matt's gonna come with us. We're gonna have some dinner and then take a break and then do a night walk maybe from the Lyre. See how things go. I mean, my experience, guys, maybe you feel the same, is that you don't have to go out deep into the woods. If it wants to find you and it wants to mess around with you, it's right there. So
Yeah.
I say we just do that.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay. And it's a good reason to drink beer. So, that works out. Allie's warming up for the story here. Okay, so here we spent all this time on Lake Quinault, and we had no way of getting a hold of you. It's your old stomping grounds. It's where everything kind of turned up for you. But Bigfoot is only part of the story. Tell us what happened in the lake.
Lake Quinault is very interesting. Besides Bigfoot, you got people see UFOs, but the other lesser unknown side of it is there's a lake monster that lives in the lake. And I personally didn't know that until recently. Me and my wife did see something on 2 occasions in the lake. And I went to the lodge and I was telling them, I said, hey, I saw something look like an alligator out there swimming, but I know there's no alligators. I'm from the south, so I know alligators, I know what when you see one. And what I saw, to me, looked like an alligator with the head. And then sometimes alligators would put their whole back up out of the water as they kind of glide. So you got kind of this you get this 3 separate objects in the water: the head, the back, and then part of the tail sometimes. So it looks like kind of like 3 humps from a distance. But I saw that, and I told my wife, I said, oh, look at that. I said, what the hell is that? And she said maybe a log or something. But then I was watching it, and it was moving against the current. And so I was like, it's pretty weird. So I went to work, and I was telling people at the lodge, and I said, hey, I saw this thing out there and swimming, and one of the ladies said, she goes, well, we got sturgeon in that lake. And I was like, I never thought of that. Maybe. I mean, that sounds plausible. And then we saw it the following year again, around the same time of year, right at springtime, and out there in the lake. and this thing was probably about 12 feet in length. You know, that's what it reminded me of, like 12-foot alligator out there. And that time I said, oh, that was probably just a sturgeon, you know. So I'm telling the story and to a friend, and Harvest Moon, she goes, oh no, she said there's a whole story people see, you know. And then the natives were telling me that there's a lake monster in there. It's like, wow, you know. So I always wondered, is that what I saw, or you know, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, wouldn't a sturgeon have like a flat back versus you seeing like 3 separate raised like surface points?
Right. Yeah, and that's what I looked up on. You know, after I found out, I went and looked on YouTube and stuff, and I seen, you know, in the Columbia River, there's a really big sturgeon that was caught one time, and when it comes up, you see the whole back and all of it. You know, so that's not exactly what we were looking at. So it was different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, is there any documented cases of them pulling sturgeon out of that lake?
not that I know of. No, nobody's caught a sturgeon out of Lake Quinault.
Do you know
So
how?
that's the other thing.
Yeah. Do we know how deep it is?
I heard that I was told that it's right around 300 feet at the deepest point.
Wow.
It sits, Lake Quinault a fault line runs right down the middle of the lake. They got a,
That's interesting.
yeah, they got a geological, the USGS, you see them out there quite often because they're studying it, because that fault line runs right through there. I talked to my friend who, you know, he's Christopher Edgecombe. That's more what he's, you know, he's more into the Cabrosaurus and lake monster type stuff. And he started telling me, you know, when I told him about Lake Quinault, and he's got this theory that certain times of the year they can access these lakes from the ocean. You know, Quinault connects. It's only, I mean, as the crow flies, it's maybe 15 miles to the ocean if you go up the river. So,
yeah, is there any evidence that there's salt water in Lake Quinault? Like, is there an underground?
no, to my knowledge, nobody's ever found any kind of salt water in the lake. There are, I know there's some nitrogen pockets, because you see occasionally you'll see nitrogen come up. But Christopher, when he was out there one time, he said he saw these bubbles that were kind of making a spiral in the center of the lake, and he recorded it on video. He said, so that was pretty interesting to me, because that doesn't sound like something, you know, like pockets of nitrogen being released.
And there's odd rules. I thought there was odd rules about you not being able to go on the lake in certain times of years. Is that right?
Yeah, you can't. For the most part, up until the summertime, when they have certain times during the summer, but other than that, the lake is pretty much off limits.
That's kind of
public.
interesting.
I didn't realize that.
And you saw it 2 times in spring
Yep,
in the same area
same area. Yep,
where your house was?
where my house was. So my
Off
house.
that point.
Yep,
Yeah.
my house would sit right here on the point,
Yeah.
and then maybe a couple hundred yards to the right of my house was the mouth of the river. So it wouldn't have to, you know, anything. Plus, we also have all the freshwater clams right there. We have the salmon hatchery right there. So it'd be perfect for a large predator to be right there.
Yeah.
I think we got to go back. There's a part 2. There's a couple part 2s happening in my mind.
Yeah. Maybe when it's not raining too.
Yeah, we got hammered on Matt last time we were there. We'll wait for the summer.
Yeah. The first day we got there, it was beautiful. Like there was
Yeah.
blue sky, and then as soon as like night hit.
I would probably go right around springtime, just before they start allowing people on the lake. Because I think once people go on the lake during the summer, if there was something in there, you know, you would hear more stories. So I think maybe it happens, whatever this is coming into the lake, it comes just before summer.
Now, is that just for motorized boats, or do they allow people to do like kayaking and paddle boating?
Period. No
Nothing.
boats.
That's
Nothing.
unusual.
Yeah. That's
They even made
interesting.
everybody rip their docks out. If you look all the way around the lake, you'll see where the posts are, but there's no docks going into the lake because they were all made to rip them out. The tribe did that.
Wow.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
They
Sounds like a cover-up, dude.
yeah.
Or like, yeah, are they trying to protect
I've always
the
been told
lake
it's because of the hatchery.
monster? Oh, yeah.
You know, so I don't know. That made sense to me. But then you look at other lakes and other places where there's hatcheries, and you don't see the same thing. So
Yeah.
No.
kind of makes you wonder, you know, what's going on there.
Yeah. Okay, gang, we're headed on a little adventure here.
All right.
We got it.
But when it comes to like, if you were actually close up to something, you wouldn't be able to get it. That's how close it is showing his face.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I'd be curious to see if that other one does that.
Right over in here somewhere.
So I'm not going to spotlight him, but so what did you hear, Matt?
Oh. Did you just hear that?
No, what'd you hear?
Like a dum 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 dum.
No, I hear the highway, but
Let me.
just to
So we were
to
walking.
clear out, I went ahead of Allie, and then behind you, Matt, you were last in line.
Yeah.
I heard what sounded like two sticks or a stick.
That's what I heard.
One
like,
stick hit together.
like a knock.
Yeah.
Real distinct over here on the right.
It was right after you said this is a creepy forest.
What I just heard almost sounded like
You know,
instrument-like.
you know what's funny though? I was taking this camera right when I heard that, and as we were walking, I
Yeah.
turned the camera like this, and I was looking behind me, and right as I was turning around to look behind me, I heard the knock. You know, I'm surprised we haven't really seen any night birds or anything.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. What's this?
Rock. Yeah.
Oh, this would be a cool place to. What's this?
I see the rocks.
Yeah.
I seen that. You.
Oh, there's pits. What are these?
They're like the similar in size?
It's kind of weird.
There was no fire there. It's like the size
There's
for a
no
body.
dirt. Where'd the dirt go? Right? These rocks were probably pulled out of it.
Oh, there's two of them.
Yeah. I'm just saying, where's the pile of dirt? Obviously, it was done a while ago, but you'd still think you'd see like a mound.
There would be a mound.
Yeah. Well, now wait a second. Could these be root balls? Did they pull up a tree? And
Could
then
be.
these are.
I think it would be.
Tree would still be here at the front.
Well,
would
no, if
think
it's a small enough tree, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be no tree like that, but maybe a tree like that.
Take up that much space?
Well, the root and everything, and then over time, water and drainage. Sorry, I'm not trying to blind you. I know this thing's bright as hell. It's ridiculous. I love it. Wish I had it in Quinault. Yeah, with weather and everything, make it a little bigger.
I think there's.
We could try doing rock clacking. You want to try it? Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
If something clacks back, what do we do? That's a shitty rock.
That's a good one.
was camping on the Skyline Trail, and I heard it just like that one night right behind my tent down in the river.
So, what do you think they are?
Sasquatches?
Yeah.
I
You
think
had
they're
to
primitive.
guess.
If I had to take a rough guess, some type of primitive human, primitive man, some type of relic hominoid. Like I said, to say it's a great ape or an undiscovered ape species, if it was an ape, we would have it in the bag, and I think that's the biggest reason why we probably don't is because we're looking for the wrong thing. We're looking for a primate, and it's not a primate. What we experienced in Quinault could reason. It had critical thinking skills. It would demonstrate language, and then
Whoa.
What is that?
Did you guys just hear that?
Yeah,
What'd you hear?
right up here, it sounded kind of like a little whistle.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounded almost bird-like or screechy to me.
Yeah, but it was a little bit different than.
Yeah.
Oh no,
It's
that
an
is.
owl.
Oh, it's an
It
owl.
is. Yeah. Never
Yeah.
mind.
There it goes again. But yeah, so I think that I think what we're looking for is going to be, and you know, all the DNA comes back. It's always 99%, but it's contaminated. But the other 23 samples that were taken by the same people were 100% accurate, no contamination. But it's the one that's 99% human,
Yeah.
that 1%. I don't think that it's contamination. I think that, like you said, we're dealing with some type of primitive human, you know, from what I can see.
But like kind of primitive. They seem
Kind
to
of.
be like smarter than us.
There's also a paranormal side to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's really intriguing, you know, because it's like, that's where I keep getting hung up on the fence, because every time I see something, I'm like, okay, this is logic, this is logic, this is logic. That makes no sense. Why are there lights? You know, or why are there this weird anomaly that's happening? What's, you know, that's why I love
Right.
it, you know.
And why can't this mystery just be figured out with tech?
Right.
You would think tech would have brought this in. I mean, even
Oh,
the
yeah.
tech we have with us tonight, FLIR.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what they are, but I've kind of grown away from the primate theory. I don't think that's it.
All right, well, we're headed back down to camp, guys. What do you guys think? Head back to camp, make the fire, have a little sit down, and we'll leave the recorder out tonight. And maybe something will come in probably after you leave, right? Like that's
Yep.
the way it is as soon as we close up the van.
As soon as we close up shop.
Yeah. But you know, we didn't expect anything to happen. We had a couple little mysteries that we looked at. Allie, what'd you think of that night walk?
Good.
Yeah.
Woke me up a little bit.
Okay, gang. Final thoughts here. We found well, you kind of already knew the spot existed. No big deal to you. But
Yeah.
now we have a new neighbor up here. You got stuff going on already. You got your own research area.
Yeah. And so many great stories
Yeah.
you shared tonight. Like, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stories.
Yeah, it's been fun. I really enjoyed spending time with y'all and learning what y'all had to say and kind of conversing, you know, especially with the two habituation sites, seeing the differences in behavior.
Yeah.
And so that was fun.
All right. Well, we'll be seeing more of you, dude.
Yeah.
And don't be a stranger. We'll set up something coming. We got to solidify coming up in Quinault.
Right.
And
Oh,
Yeah.
more on that later.
Yeah. And do you want to shout out your podcast?
Oh, yeah. And what you're working on as far as your YouTube presence.
Yeah, so at the end of March, hopefully we'll get it launched. It's going to be Olympic Sasquatches, and that'll be on YouTube. And you can also find me on social media, Facebook, as well, and follow my adventures from there. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, dude. We'll do this again.
Yeah.
We're out.
And we'll let you know if we capture anything after you leave.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're leaving us here
curious.
all alone to
Yeah.
fend for ourselves tonight.
Right.
Cool, man. All right, bye.